it's Keith. I'm back for another try at doing a video about horror comics. This time I'm not going to talk about pre-code horror. I'm actually going to keep this video short so that I can try to work out the audio sync problems. I'm only going to talk about one book today, and it's a Bronze Age horror comic. Probably more responsible than any other horror comic for my horror comic addiction. Read this when I was a young kid, and two stories in this book stuck with me a long time, my whole life really, and really eventually turned me into a horror comics collector. The book in question came out in September of 1980. I was 9 years old at the time. And here it is. Unexpected. Number 202. You see the cover here. What comes hopping down the bunny trail? This cover art is, I believe, by Louis Dominguez. Okay. Hopefully you can get some good detail there. Not sure. Anyways, this book probably single-handedly more responsible than any other comic book for my horror comic addiction, like I said earlier. Now, the first story in here, a story called Death Trap. And you can see that. It's written by Carl Wessler. Wessler was like a real journeyman writer for DC horror comics. I mean, he just pumped out, typical horror story after typical horror story for them. He was real big on like the O. Henry sort of twist endings. The art in this is by Tori Rapizzo. Not too familiar with Tori, but this story is about a criminal who breaks out of Bedlam Asylum, maniac, and starts to take refuge in a home, threaten the female occupant, and check this page out here. I want to show that to you because years later I came across this at an online auction, which is the original art. It's great. Nice leg shot. Nice leg illustration there. Picked that up pretty inexpensively, in my opinion. I wanted it bad just because it was from this book. But anyways, long story short about this is that the crime is kind of solved because this lady knows that the intruder is not a guy, it's a woman in disguise. Essentially, she just uses logic to figure out that this person that came to her house is probably the escaped maniac. And I don't know, something about that kind of influenced me being 9 years old. I figured out that you could use it dawned on me that you can use logic in a story to make a nice surprise ending. I don't know how else to explain that, but it made sense to me at the time. I'm not making much sense now. Anyways, on to the main attraction. Hopping down the bunny trail. And there's it's Easter. There's going to be an Easter egg hunt. And of course, here's this kid. He's like, "Oh, I always like to bite the heads off first of these Easter bunnies. What about you?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, me too." This story is written by Michael Uslan, Uslan, Uslan. He later went on to write some Batman stuff that became pretty popular. It's illustrated by Tenny Henson, who I don't know much about other than I think Tenny Henson is out of Europe somewhere, maybe Denmark or Norway, I'm not sure. Regardless, kids go on this Easter egg hunt, and it's pretty cool. They go in this house in this Easter egg hunt, and the next thing you know, the lights go out. They fall through a trap door. They land in this vat of chocolate. They become covered in chocolate. And here comes the friendly old Easter bunny, and of course, he's hungry. Leading up to the last page, which is just classic. The Easter bunny here is complaining, "For years you kids have been biting into chocolate Easter bunnies. Well, turnabout is fair play." So here's the kid covered in chocolate. The kid, of course, thinks that this is some guy in a suit just trying to scare him. Oh no, well, it's not a suit because the mask won't come off, and there, the Easter bunny takes a bite out of the kid head first. Great stuff. That story stuck with me my whole life, especially that ending where the Easter bunny bites the kid's head off. It's the kind of thing that a 9-year-old reads and becomes, later on in his life, a horror comics collector. Anyways, I hoard this issue. I buy copies of it all the time, and I don't know, I lost count how many copies of that I have. This is one of my lower grade ones, even though it looks, generally pretty nice. So, I didn't mind bending it and folding it, showing it to you, because I have a lot more higher grade copies than that. Anyways, I'm trying to work out the sync problem with the audio. I'm going to try downloading this. If things work out, expect more pre-code horror comic videos, or more horror comic videos in general.